the film is about controlling yourself and understanding situations where you have no control and taking a leap of faith.
Man, that's a whole ass thesis statement, but it's good.
Welcome back to the Shade Cinema podcast. Today we are doing an episode on Man of Steel. Let's get quickly into this. My name is Chris, and these are my good friends, my good guests, new guests to the show.
My name is Alec.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Alejandro, you're back.
Yes.
And Auden, you're... I haven't seen you in like 5 years.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm barely here. By the way, guys, the Shade Cinema peeler, huh? Don't forget.
So before we start, obviously like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Ballsy.
And let's get on to it. So my first question in regards to Man of Steel is about John Kent, and it's about how he wants to keep Clark's identity a secret. So why does John Kent want to keep Clark's powers as a secret? Why does he feel the need to do that?
Should I start?
No.
I mean, okay.
Bruh.
I see how it is.
Being shot down like that. I mean, do you guys have something to say?
How dare you?
No, you can start.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think he says it pretty often during the movie as well, like how the people on Earth aren't gonna take it well once they find out that someone like that is like living amongst them. He says it.
Among Us.
The news reporter there, I forgot what his name was, says it as well.
Lois Lane.
No, not Lois.
The guy.
The guy she
Perry.
works for. Yes, Perry.
The boss there, yeah.
But there's like a lot of people that are on the same page with this, and obviously, like, I don't think we would
Mhm.
take it well if we found out that there's like a superhuman, like fucking Superman or Homelander that lives among us as well.
Among
It's
Among
a
Us.
national
I knew
security
you
threat. I
would say
mean,
that. But
yeah.
I mean, it's like a force of God, right? It's like
Mhm.
on Earth taken in like human form, and it's
Yeah.
like, how do you control that kind of power? You know, it's frightening. So since you don't want to have that kind of reaction from a global population, I think it's better for
Mhm.
him to hide his powers, and that was sort of what he was trying to teach him.
I think especially because he was a lot younger when Jonathan was around. So having his kid taken away from him, being experimented on, and like being an outcast throughout his like childhood for him, I don't think that's something he wanted. If he lived long enough, I think maybe at one point he'd be like, okay, maybe now is time to come out.
Yeah, that makes
of
sense.
where?
The closet, the magical closet, the magical closet.
The closet, eh? But yeah,
What do you
after
think?
what Auden said, it's true. I mean, the guy's a foreigner in a way, and he's kind of a national security threat. That's just the way I see it, you know? Some people are not going to take it well. They're going to be like, who's this guy? Why is these things going on in my country and in my planet, my bad? And as you see, you know,
This
that
country
happens
too.
in this country too.
Yeah.
But as you see, the entire Earth is held hostage for what, like 24 hours? And the FBI was in there, the government was in there, and the people were ready to rat Superman out where he was, you know?
Actually, because you bring up a good point.
So wait. Okay, go ahead. But then I have like a point to make. Go ahead.
Okay, no, it's just because Ali brought up that Jonathan Kent said the people are not ready yet. Like, when do you guys think the people of Earth would have been ready to sort of witness that kind of power?
I think pretty much as soon as the movie starts, like in that moment of the event of Zod invading Earth, that's when it would have been perfect timing.
Okay, so
Because he's
the
the
way
o-
it's done then.
Because you're not going to want that kind of power to protect you in a moment of peace where there's no need for that kind of power. You
Yeah.
understand? So for him to expose himself, not in a sexual way, for him to expose himself, his powers and stuff to the world in a time where there's no need for him to expose it, that's when he can become a threat. But now that if there's this whole international security threat with Zod and everything, you like essentially fucking the world with the world engine, he's going literally fucking the world with the world engine. But because there's the threat of that is present,
Mm-hmm.
they're more willing to accept it as like a drastic measure for the fact that like, okay, this person.
They're like, yeah, we can use him now, but then afterwards we're gonna keep.
I mean,
a close
like,
eye on him.
but afterwards, it's like we have to see what his intentions are, because at first they're not going to trust him with that kind of power.
I mean, even at the
It's
end,
true.
like they had that plain spy on him, and he says like he's gonna do what he wants regardless. He doesn't need them to tell him what to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
but we'll get into Superman's influence later. Do you have something to add?
no, I was just gonna add how there was that distrust from the start when they
Mhm.
when he was in that lab with the FBI and there was that lead scientist who was gonna tranquilize him, and they
Mhm.
wanted to
Do you think it would have the tranquilizer would have worked or no?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Hell no.
For
No.
sure. Yes. We're talking about Superman, bro. He's like the weakest hero, bro.
yeah guys he's
Oh,
him
yeah.
he's him but yeah, and then Superman said, I know you're trying to control me in something and it just doesn't work, and that's when
He gets up. He's in handcuffs. You can tell. It's
he
like
just
it's like
snaps it off.
no. It's funny because the way he has his handcuffs, it's like as if he.
He's like pressing his arms together.
Yeah, it's like as if it's someone pretending to have handcuffs. They're like this, and then listen up, guys.
He like literally just lets go and break.
That was like the best part, honestly, for me.
Not the part where he ran shirtless.
All of them goated.
bro.
Goated.
Fuck yeah.
Goated.
I love how his hair doesn't like burn off when he's in the
This is haram.
Oh yeah, the oil rig.
in the oil rig. His hair doesn't burn off, but he's able to shave it.
That's what I realized. Like, how does Superman shave? I think he uses like the same way that they did it in some of the older movies, where he uses a very small heat vision
Like on a mirror.
on a mirror to like bounce back and like. I've seen
Sorry, that's ridiculous.
no,
Like,
they've done that before. I mean, if in those movies they were able to reverse time by turning the planet around,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, that's true.
so. But I think, in my opinion, not in my opinion, but I think it's like you guys pretty much laid it out as is. But my follow-up question would be something like, was John Kent trying to protect the world from Superman or trying to protect Superman from the world,
Superman from the world.
and why?
I think so. Even Jor-El, when he talks to Lara at the beginning of the movie, he says he's gonna be like a god to them, right? I think that if Superman was in a wrong environment, he could have easily went like the opposite way, right? But I think that by nurturing him, he led him a little bit to a better path to become the good guy, the
Can
good
I-
Superman.
Can I ask you something? How did they nurture him?
I think they gave him their values as human beings.
They
Okay.
gave him vitamins.
So like, you know when he was getting bullied? You know when he was
Okay.
getting bullied, he said he wanted to hit them so
Right.
bad, and he didn't do it because his dad was there, and his dad kind of gave him that value of he doesn't need to use violence necessarily to get
Well,
a point.
I don't
through.
think he didn't not hit him because his dad
Yeah,
was there, but like just but yeah, like his parents. Sure, okay,
it does kind of play into it, right?
right.
I think even Martha, when Zod arrives and asks where the ship is, she has that nurturing value where she's gonna protect this child, even though he's not necessarily his baby, but she's willing to go to die, not to give him up. So I think that's
I mean that I don't think so. I hated that scene so much
What?
when they're like chokeholding her
yeah.
Mhm.
and she's like she like looks at the barn like the most obvious way. You're like, oh my gosh, it's like it's just terrible. Like I don't know if I think it was just the
Yeah, I
acting
saw
that was
that. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
bad. You know, I think she was supposed to do like a quick glance, but she like turns her head and like
She turns,
directly looks
stares,
at the, yeah, straight
analyzes
up.
the whole thing, like, and then just
You
drops the whole thing.
stupid woman.
But that's where I'm gonna disagree with you, and that's where like for me personally, I have a lot of conflict with this film because in this movie, I feel like Superman became good because he was destined to be good, not because he was taught it. I'm gonna tell you what-
I don't agree.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because in this film, we don't see enough of Martha and Jonathan Kent like showing him like they're preventing him. They're doing everything to suppress him using his powers, which is fine.
Mhm.
But to the point where they're telling him not to do any good whatsoever. He's like Jonathan Kent literally tells him, "Yeah, you should have just let the kids die."
Yeah.
Like what the fuck are you teaching your kid?
No, but that's
Yeah.
the whole point. Is he trying to protect him from the world or the world from him?
I understand that. I get it, but it's still
So your argument is that they're trying to protect him from the world.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're trying to protect the world from him.
I mean, they could have easily like made money off of his powers, try to like use him, right? You have this kid who's like super strong, who has heat vision, who could see through things, and they just hid him. They didn't use him at all. They just tried to make him live a normal life, try to be a normal human.
You could have been the greatest surgeon of all time.
Right? I mean, that one scene where he like uses heat vision to stop the... Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think they try to give human values rather than exploit him as this god.
Yeah, but
It's true.
we didn't see hints in the film where they taught him to take care of others,
Okay.
to be a good person. That's what I had. That's why I have so many things against this movie, is because all those values that he developed somehow, we don't see him being taught those things.
True.
He's just naturally a good person, and it's like that's so unrealistic. If anything, the circumstances that he was raised in would be more of a reason for him to become someone like fucking like the kid in Brightburn. Instead of it being the other way around, you know, because like in Brightburn, the kid just turns evil because of like demons inside of him or some shit, even though like he had a very good upbringing. And instead, in this case, it's the other way around. The upbringing was terrible, but for some reason it turns out that
I disagree. Like,
You think
like,
so?
No, I think I do, because if you look at like the way they raised him to turn the other cheek, to restrain himself, to make sure that he's to take a step back. And it's mainly because he didn't think he was ready for that. If he exposed himself and like for saving the kids, right? It could have put him in danger. It could have put his family in danger. It would have led to a lot of problems later on. Now, obviously, there's the question here. It's like, would you at that point risk your life?
I mean,
like in the world and the lives of your parents and your family to possibly like to save these kids and stuff. And him, I think in that moment, especially John Kent, just didn't know what to answer to that question. It's like, what am I supposed to let him die? And he's like maybe, but like even then, I don't think what he said was like necessarily the right thing. Again, I'm trying to analyze it from like I'm not trying to look at how good or bad the writing is. I'm just trying to see. Like,
but that's the
character
thing, though,
development.
right?
I mean,
that
it is an
the
ethical
writing
question.
wasn't that good.
Yeah.
No, the writing was good. I don't know what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying for his character specifically, the story itself was
no, I understand
was
his
decent.
character. He's a stubborn old man who doesn't want his son.
But
to
let
be
me tell you
exposed.
this. Let me ask you this. Okay, there's so many heroes that like have two identities that they live with, and like Superman becomes one of them, where like he's like news reporter at the Daily Planet, Daily Planet, right?
Yeah.
And then he's also like Superman on the side. Like instead of like suppressing his powers and going and like teaching him not to like help people in any matter, why not try to find a way to hide his identity, save people in the meantime? Because at least you're doing what you can with your powers to save others.
Listen, I understand that.
Like for example, the bus scene, right? Like I mean,
What is he gonna find a phone booth and then turn into? I'm Superman.
That's literally what they do.
No, but that's not.
And I'm joking.
But the whole point. Here's the thing. I think the reason why he hid his identity for so long early on in the movie. I don't know why this turned into.
Yeah.
I think the reason why he hid his identity or didn't want to use his power is because really he doesn't have much of an identity to begin with.
But, I
Okay.
mean, we were talking about hiding identity to save. How can he hide his identity to save? I mean, we see with the bus scene, the whole thing is crashing down. There's no way he can hide his identity and be like, I'm him, and
maybe
and
not
save, you know?
show your face to your crush while he's pushing the bus and like do direct eye contact and wait there and then turn back to save the other. Like just hide, bro.
He's a kid.
Look
bro.
at
There's
Okay,
there's
but
that
dude, look
too.
at fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah,
bro.
but
How many people like are suspicious that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? For example, he does such a good job at hiding. Like instead of telling him,
Yeah, but
no, don't save people, let your friends die.
Yeah, but
tell him that like,
Spider-Man's not a 12-year-old boy. Okay,
he wasn't 12 when he saved the bus, bro.
he was like 12.
No, he was in high school, man. He was like
High school.
high school in the States is like fucking 14, 15.
The kid was a 12-year-old.
That's how-
no,
that's
he
how
was
old
a young
Spider-Man
kid,
was.
Actually, he was a kid. Because you remember his bully?
Okay.
His bully, when he grows up, he has glasses and he was helping him stand up.
Yeah.
That was high school. I think
That was like
earlier-
senior year though. That was like 17.
No, he was no. What happened was like the older when he's an older teenager.
Yeah.
That's when Henry Cavill is still playing him. Like during the
No,
tornado
that's not the one he
scene.
was referring.
No,
the
no,
one
no.
where he like holds on to the
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah, that's a bit
No,
not
remember
Henry Cavill.
remember
That's
the
not
ginger
Henry Cavill.
the ginger bully
yeah,
that he
yeah,
saved?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like that's after that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, it's like, goddamn. What I'm saying, it's Superman after he was probably like 13, 14 years
Mhm.
old. In that moment, you're not thinking like, oh, should I hide my identity or whatever? You just think I have to save this bus because this bus is
Yeah.
drowning, and you have
Of course.
because we're looking at it through an outsider's perspective. Why
Mhm.
didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? It's the same thing as trying to think. Okay, why didn't this cop react this way to this
Yeah.
shooter or to this
Mhm.
violent individual? Why do you have to shoot him? But like, if you're in the moment there and you're being attacked, you don't think very rationally, very clearly. You think in the moment very quickly in the action. And yeah, there's probably some steps that you missed along the way. But like at the end of the day, you have
It's
to.
not like, yeah, it's,
You have
you
to
don't
make
have
that
the time.
decision very quickly. You
Yeah.
don't have time to think, oh, I have to go to I have to find a phone booth. I have to change myself.
No.
into
Like
Superman.
I understand that, but it's like imagine if like you were taught and you practiced hiding that part of yourself or finding ways to avoid people noticing you. If you have that in mind, you would like try to find
But here's
it'll
the thing.
become natural for
Here's
you
the
to
thing.
like
He didn't.
hide.
He didn't like. I think he was probably around 7 or 8 when the powers started to really
Mhm.
come in. So that's when they probably just thought he was like some ordinary kid, alien, whatever. But then over time, as he grew, he started to like see the X-ray vision and stuff, and because of that, he was able like his powers started to really come up
Mhm.
as he was getting older. So he's still getting used to it. It's not like he was 3 years old and he was born with these powers.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he
you
learns
had a
to
hard time
fly.
breathing.
He learns to fly like when he's like a fully grown adult, right?
He's like
So-
in his 30s.
So yeah, but I also think that wait, where was I going with this? Shit, I lost my train of thought.
Happens.
All right, so
Wait, you have to ask Alec. He didn't answer.
No, I answered.
wait, oh yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't. Wait, you both didn't answer. So
Yeah.
are they trying to protect Superman from the world or the world from Superman?
I honestly think it's a bit of both. Like you can see it from both ways.
But like, which
It's-
one more?
That's what I struggle on. Honestly, I'm very on the fence on that one because there's everything he said, but at the same time, it's, I mean, you want to cover up who you are. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's pretty much it. Honestly, it's you have to hide your identity to not show these people what's happening, because if you show these people what's happening, everyone's gonna react, which they did as the movie goes. But it's how do you control your powers? You know, it's a lot of questions.
Okay.
It depends who's saying it. Like if it's Jonathan Kent that's like telling him that like.
No, but
Talking
like, what
about
do you think? What
No,
do you
I
think?
know,
Is
no,
he-
but
is he-
I'm explaining because like when they say like the world isn't gonna take this well, for example, like if it's Jonathan Kent telling him, he would be worried for his son's safety.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's like that. So that's that side. But then when it's Pierce, that's the guy's name. Perry. Sorry, when it's Perry saying it to Lois Lane, for example, his concern is more for the world rather than Superman.
Mhm.
So it depends from who it's coming. Regardless, it's gonna cause chaos, and I think that's what we have to take in is like, no matter what happens, it's gonna be ugly, like for both sides.
Yeah, I think, but I personally like I'm going to kind of fortify the point that I made, which was I think he's at least John is trying to protect the Superman from the world, because
Mhm.
if Superman is exposed to the world, and sometimes the world can be very cruel, he might be like, especially if he was young, he might turn on a dime because he doesn't know how to control those emotions. So that's the important part.
So you think Jonathan Kent is more worried for the world rather than his own son?
No, he's saying like he's afraid that his son will use his powers for evil.
You think so?
Yeah.
You don't think that he raised him to be a good enough person, but that
That's the
he's
thing.
worried that the world is going to react poorly, that they're going to...
Yeah, they're gonna treat him badly, which will
Exactly,
cause
yeah.
Superman to treat
Oh, okay. I see what
Okay.
you
treat
mean.
the world badly.
Yeah, it's a train of thought there.
Okay.
So it's not he knows that Superman is going to save the world at some point.
Mhm.
He just doesn't know exactly when, but he knows that he has to prepare his son to be able to be a good enough person
not
to
use his
understand.
powers.
No, to be a good enough person to understand moments where of like lapse of judgment in people
So like have his emotions in check.
in check. Like
Okay.
when he's at the bar and
Yeah.
they throw shit at him and they throw beer at him,
I love that scene.
and then he
When
just
he's just
wa-
shoving him and he just
And it's
doesn't
just-
move.
He doesn't move. It bounces off him.
But then they try to do that, and then all he does is walk away. Obviously, he fucks up the guy's truck, but like that's him out of that scene, right? They
Mhm.
don't see him do that. He just sees.
Well,
like, his
I have
part.
something to say about that scene, but anyways, we'll talk about that later.
Shut up, bitch!
Wow. Okay.
Coming in strong start, eh?
Jesus.
Yeah, baby!
Okay, so here's my other power, which kind of goes into what we were saying, pretty well. Which was, is Superman's niceness a strength or a weakness?
I mean,
Good question.
I think it's a strength for sure.
You think it's a strength?
I mean, even when he was fighting
What do you mean by that?
when he was fighting the woman, right?
Mhm.
The woman was like, your weakness is your morality.
yeah.
We've erased that part of us. It's part of our evolution, right? And
And evolution always wins.
Exactly.
That was the quote I
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
trying to remember, yeah.
and at the end, he ends up winning, right? Through his morality, he ends Zod because his morality pushes
Whoa,
through.
spoilers.
Yeah, I know, right?
What the fuck?
Whoa,
Haram,
are
haram,
you
bro.
saying that in this analysis video someone got spoiled here, bro? Come on, bro.
No,
I should have
no.
said spoiler
Hell
alert,
no.
right?
For real.
Fuck.
It's
But
been
yeah,
10 years since this
like-
movie came out.
he's willing to kill someone basically to save others, right? So that part of
Mhm.
morality
Yeah.
comes into play.
And he's also willing to put himself at risk
Right.
for the sake of the humans. I mean, we talk about, like, at some point we all remember that the humans themselves were hostile to Superman, but
Mhm.
at that point Superman could have easily snapped and said, "Screw this," and just gone against the humans.
Do
But,
you think that reaction has something to do with the fact that they can't really harm him?
There's that too as well,
Like oh, it's just whatever. Like I
So
can
it's like
shrug it.
fear.
It's kind of like it's kind of like those flies that don't do anything. It's kind of like annoyance, but they don't do anything, so it's fine.
But
Kinda
even
thing.
then, if he wanted to do something, he would do something. He has like supernatural powers over anyone else. So
Well, he's like a god.
he's basically
Well, the whole movie is an allegory
Mhm.
for. He's an allegory for Jesus.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna
Yeah,
mention
with
that there's
him, like,
so many
following-
connections. I mean, he was sent between being sent and
He's 33 years old.
33 years old.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
exactly. Yeah.
Damn,
You didn't
bro.
notice that?
I didn't notice that. Until now, actually.
And the biggest thing is they were both sent to save something. Jesus was sent because the world was sinful, impure, whatever, and he was ready to sacrifice himself for the sins of the world.
Yeah.
Same thing with Superman, but not with the sins. Obviously, there was the
He kind of does that.
And Jesus also strikes a panel in the middle of space and then floats out.
Space Jesus.
But, literally. But what was I gonna say? Regarding what you said, so there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of contradictory facts about this. So it's very interesting that she mentioned that because, for example, if you take Batman versus Joker, for example,
Mhm.
what makes Joker so dangerous is his immoral
Mhm.
personality, right?
Mhm.
That makes him you can't stop someone like that because he doesn't give a fuck about anything, right? So it's like the fact that he doesn't have any attachments or he I guess I don't know if he could feel love or anything, but the fact that he can't feel sympathy, that he can't relate or be in touch with other people the same way, he's chaotic, right? That's what makes him so dangerous. So when she said that well, she had a point when she said that evolution always wins over morality because they don't have that restriction. But at the same time, having that sense of morality, having other people to fight for that you love could also bring in more passion, right? So you could become more dangerous from I guess from association. So
Out of
wanting
love,
to-
yeah.
out of love, wanting
Exactly.
to save the people in your life, etc.
So would it be kind of like when those parents or those mothers who have they have they are able to lift a car or something for their kids.
Yes, exactly,
Kinda
right?
like that.
Yeah.
Like in the heat of the moment kind of caring thing.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think that can also seem as a weakness as well?
How?
Yeah,
Not the lifting the car up, but I
Oh.
mean the sense of
Like
having
you're-
that morality, having that moral restraint.
Because
Because
knowing
he
that you have
wasn't-
people that you care about
Yeah.
makes it a target.
Because I found that Superman was holding himself back the whole movie.
at some point.
I don't think so. So like, I'll give you another example at the beginning. So we all know Zod is their leader, the leader of their army, right?
Mhm.
And then you have Jor-El, who's like a scientist, basically beat their leader to protect his own son, right?
Yeah.
So he's willing to put himself on the line for his child, and he ends up winning. So
So you're saying the morality, and you're saying also that the morality is attached to a form of purpose,
yeah,
correct? But wouldn't you also say that Zod, because he has no morality, but he has a purpose to protect Krypton?
It's
Isn't that-
ingrained in him, yeah.
But would you say that that's as strong as Superman's morality?
But that's the conflicting part, right? That's why it's so hard, and I feel like that's why that was like such a great matchup, and like why it was so
Mhm.
close until the end. You know, it's hard to say. I really think because it was as soon as Superman realized that people were gonna die directly from Zod's hands while he was like chokeholding him, that he's like, shit, I have to like end this, you know, and that's where
Yeah.
he didn't pull back anymore. So I guess it does take the upper hand at the end eventually.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys think.
What do you think, Alec?
I'm wondering.
Do you think it's a
does-
weakness or a strength?
I think it's a strength to have morality, as I said, but I'm wondering more. We were speaking about Zod having morality, but does Zod have? He doesn't have morality, you know. Even in terms of a purpose, he's wired, you know,
Mhm.
in a way to save Krypton, because everyone else wants to save Krypton from before Krypton crashed, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's obvious the guy has no morality,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and in terms of purpose, I think he's just hardwired to save morality. I think that's just, in a way, that's a human thing as well. It's a biology to, you know, save your planet, save yourself, you know. So I think it's more of a thing where you're ingrained in doing it rather than, yeah, it's something that he thought of doing, you know, that he just woke up one day and said, you have to save these people. I want to extend my race. I want to continue keeping my race alive, you know.
But for him specifically, he was programmed
Yeah.
Mhm.
to.
But doesn't that
Yeah.
become like kind of robotic? Like it's basically humanity versus being.
So the argument is that you're making is that like Kryptonians are kind of robotic in
Yeah,
the sense of like they have a predetermined purpose.
exactly.
Mhm.
But that it's interesting that predetermined purpose is what caused the downfall of Krypton,
Yeah.
or partly what caused the downfall of Krypton.
I think it was more on the side of their leaders being greedy rather than
Mhm.
the way they were programmed. Like,
But also it's just mismanagement.
yeah, because you know how.
The old colonies, they were saying that they were cut off from Krypton and then they were left to die,
Mm-hmm.
and then they harvested the core too much and
Exactly.
caused the core to explode.
But think of it too, right? Like if everyone's programmed to do certain things, like then in that case, there's no more competition because everything's calculated. So
So
you
communism?
can't have.
it's a very large what?
So communism.
But like, because if you think like competition is healthy because it helps populations grow out of
Yeah,
their weaknesses,
and it drives innovation.
exactly.
From nothing to something. Yeah.
I mean,
But
you could be.
there's but there's no innovation to be driven, especially if it's in like a centralized government like Krypton
Mhm.
that's seeking to gain more power and stuff.
Then that's just greed. Then at that point.
Yeah, it's not just greed, but like those people have no reason to advance certain things. There's nothing to fight against per se. It's easier to bring the government together if in that situation, if like hypothetically speaking,
If there's a cause.
if there's a cause or if there's a
Mhm.
war or something, like if Krypton was going to war with, let's say, Apocalypse,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
then they would like muster their whole military thing
Yeah.
and they just breed military people.
But I think it was part of advancement as well. Like they wanted to advance their society. So I think harvesting their core was the next step to getting those resources to advance their technology, get better.
Yeah, but then it ended up getting them fucked.
Yeah.
That's greed right there.
Helicopter, helicopter.
I think it depends where the morality, whether it's strength or weakness. But that's a weak ass answer. So,
Are you a moral person?
Listen, I think at the end of the day, having a sense of morality could give strength to those without it because it'll give them an easier target because they know what. I don't know, man. It's tough to say because they know what matters to you, right? But at the
Mhm.
same time, for them, there's nothing that drives them more than just, I guess, chaos or just like their
their desire to protect Krypton in the case of Zod.
yeah.
Mhm.
But also in the case of Zod, it's because he has a desire to protect Krypton, he will go at any lengths to do
Yeah,
it.
he said no matter how violent or how cruel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't care. Like he was like he was arguing with Jor-El, and he's like, you're talking about genocide, and then he's like, yeah, well,
And I'm
arguing
arguing
with-
married with a ghost. Or
He's like
something.
fine with it.
He's like, I don't. It's like to him, it's something to consider. Like genocide is something to consider in order
Mhm.
to restart Krypton.
Yeah.
But in the case of Superman, he wants to restart Krypton, but not by killing something else off, right?
Of course.
So he wants to be like the bridge between worlds, which is what Jor-El wanted him to be. But in this case, he wasn't able to become that, and I guess in that sense, he failed as a Kryptonian. Anything else you guys want to add?
So I'm going back to your point. So you're saying morality is a weakness, but
No, I'm saying it could be a weakness.
Are
but-
you saying morality is a weakness, Auden? Are you
No,
saying we can never be moral?
no. So I get your
It's a
point.
weakness when you're facing someone without morality, but at the same time, because they can use that as an advantage, but you can also use your morality as an advantage against them. That's why it's
Okay,
weird.
okay.
You know,
It's a dichotomy.
that's what I'm. Yeah, exactly.
But
That's
back
what
to your
I'm
point
trying to
about passion, I think that's when morality comes in. That's when
Yeah.
like what you said about the car, when the mother wants to lift the car and stuff.
say. But there's different types of passions, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, General Zod had a passion to. Well, I guess you could call it a passion to drive, whatever.
Mhm.
Like to
It's about
save-
drive. It's about
to save Krypton, but it wasn't based off of morality. As for Superman's love for the human
Mhm.
race
Mhm.
was his drive, his passion to fight.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
change
But then
it.
eventually, it's interesting. As soon as Zod lost the ability to protect Krypton, he-
when was that exactly?
when
Like
they were
everyone-
all sent into the
the
Phantom
Phantom
Zone,
Zone. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
that's when it was at that point he lost.
He lost what?
That he lost against Superman
Okay.
because his drive that he wanted, that his desire, the thing he wanted to protect was gone.
Yeah, he says
Yeah.
it. He took away his soul.
Right.
So at that point, he was just like a rabid dog who had to be put down.
Yeah.
So he kind of lost the war before he started, basically. Is what
Well,
I'm
he
getting from
started
this.
a war which was stupid.
Out of
He
nowhere.
started a stupid war. He started a war against a people with a Kryptonian there who's fully powered by a yellow sun. When he could have gone to any other star and started it, he
Restarted
could have
there.
been like, "Oh, we just need the codex."
Mhm.
Well, that's why he had to go to but that's why
Yeah,
he went to
he-
Earth
he
was for the
could've-
codex.
He could have been like, "Oh yeah, we're just here for the codex."
But I mean,
Oh, do you want to build it? Like, well, there's people living here, so no. They could have done that,
Mhm.
but like
Okay.
because they lacked that morality, they caused the war.
Yeah, they took the whole world hostage. They said you have 24 hours
So-
to give us this guy plus the codex, and that was it.
So,
But it's also
as-
that superiority complex as well, right? That they think they're just better than everyone else too.
it's a bit of a superiority complex as well, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think it's also that it's kind of like how when Kryptonians fought against humans, it was like the Aztecs fighting against the Spanish.
mhm.
You have like 300 Spaniards taking over 100,000 fucking Aztec warriors and destroying them because of guns, germs, and steel,
Mhm.
for example. But it's sort of the same thing here, where these people have like advanced technology that's like based on like using gravity or nanotechnology and shit, which is really cool.
It's bad.
But I mean, they're also people
but-
of. They're also colonizers.
Yeah, and
Like-
they're colonizing other worlds for 100,000. Like they were colonizing for 100,000 years. You know how much technological advancement they must have.
It's crazy.
But then,
But don't
But-
you
but
find
the
that
thing-
interesting though?
but the thing is, but hold on.
Okay.
But what's interesting about it is that because they started this war, which could have been avoided by going to another planet, just saying we just need the codex. Oh, it's in your blood. All right, well, we'll just need some of your blood then to then either recreate the codex, or you can just come by, have a phantom drive, whatever, and you can just teleport in and out, whatever, whenever we need you.
But do you think Superman would have agreed to that?
Of course,
Why?
guaranteed, because he would have wanted to have been the bridge between both worlds. He always wanted to know where he came from. He always wanted to know something about Kryptonians. He wanted to help Krypton, but he just didn't want to build it up atop Earth.
But let me rephrase this. Do you think he would let General Zod reform Krypton?
Oh,
I don't think he would like. After maybe, probably not.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at the same time, what kind of choice does
Well, Jor-El
Kal-El
taught him.
have?
Well, no, it was if you didn't have that conversation with Jor-El, that's a different story. But because Jor-El, like, taught him.
No, I think he still wanted to help Zod because he saw that Zod was still was doing everything in order to protect Krypton. What Jor-El showed what Jor-El showed Kal-El was not that Zod killed Jor-El, but that Zod just tried to overthrow the government.
Mm-hmm.
No, General Zod's biggest flaw was that he was very selective with his people. But you can't be like that, dude. That's the definition of genocide.
That's why he didn't join him. He didn't join him
exactly.
at the beginning.
So regardless,
but I'm
even
saying,
if he was gonna.
But I'm saying it's like if Zod didn't make the stupid mistake of trying to build Earth atop, trying to build Krypton atop Earth, he wouldn't have been defeated by Superman, and Krypton would have lived on. So it's in a way Zod's greed that killed Krypton.
I mean,
not necessarily Superman.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, even if he tried to rebuild Krypton, he would still be selective with the people he wanted to.
Of course,
to bring.
but obviously that
Surely
comes
he
down to that's up to Zod. It's not really genocide. It's more like selective genetics and stuff.
Yeah.
Eugenism.
genetic.
Yeah.
No, but
what is it?
It's eugenism.
What?
Eugenism. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Eugenics or something like that.
Oh, eugenics. Yeah.
Eugenics. My bad. It's when you have the selective genetics and natural. Well, it's between natural selection and the good ones. The good genes.
No, but I'm saying his the genocidal behavior was when he was on Krypton, right? Because Jor-El was telling him how he was trying to eliminate specific groups.
Mhm.
Like if Krypton didn't blow up, that was what he was gonna eventually end up doing was eliminating the people he didn't want to be part of their race.
Well,
but he was ready to do the same to Earth as well.
It doesn't matter because at that point. He has a large amount of genetic templates that he can choose from. Everyone that was essentially that he would have wanted to wipe out have been wiped out by the destruction of Krypton.
No, but I'm saying hypothetically if it didn't blow up.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have brought it back because the Codex basically has the genetics of everyone on Krypton, right?
That's true.
So he could have
chosen
the ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's up to him to choose the ones that will, create a better society in his eyes, at least.
So at that
Create
point,
the best society. Yeah.
at that point, you're basically letting Zod become god of Krypton.
Well, he can't be god of Krypton because he doesn't have godlike powers. He'll just be the dictator of Krypton until he dies. In which case, it still will be Superman who'll come in and be like, "Hey guys,"
Without his powers.
Yeah, maybe not, but Red Sun.
Do you guys think it was stupid to put Zod and his army in the Phantom Zone as
I don't think
the planet was blowing up?
I think in that moment they didn't realize that the planet was blowing up. Jor-El was telling them, guys, the planet is blowing up. But then I think there's some time clearly that passed because it's not very obvious.
Because I found that so stupid.
My question is, why didn't they just kill him? It's a question of treason. They were fighting with one another. They tried to overthrow the government.
It's a fate worse than death.
Mm-hmm.
Just to send them into a place where there's nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
you're frozen
you're
in space
letting
for
them
300 years.
Exactly, for eternity.
I will find
But
him.
if anything, they just saved them.
But again, they didn't know that Krypton was blowing up. It was just kind of superstitious thing. They didn't believe him when it was happening. They just thought, it's a bit unstable, whatever, no problem. Yeah. But then there's it was after that whole thing where they send Zod over. That's when the whole shit blows up. And then they were already sent into the Phantom Zone by the time. So when Krypton blew up, the Phantom Zone drive ended. So
that's when they knew they fucked up.
Exactly.
So
but again, these are the same people who were harvesting the core. So you have to keep that in mind as well. But it's the same people who were saying let's harvest the core. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Next thing you know, boom, bitch.
And the whole fucking thing falls apart.
Yeah. Implodes.
So they have the technology to send their criminals into space, but they don't have the technology to save their people. Is that?
Well, there's a clear difference between. It's okay, I'll get to that part later as when we go over the deeper meaning. But for now, let's continue. You have anyone else have anything left to add? Do you have any other complaints you want to talk about in the movie?
You're dumb. I do have other complaints, but I think I'm gonna wait.
How dare you!
Thank you. I think we should probably bring it up after.
Okay. Why you ask? Was the destruction of Metropolis Superman's fault?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course,
No, I don't think
of
so.
course. Indirectly,
What do you
it's,
mean by
it's
that?
his fault. Yeah, of
Why
course.
is it his
Because
fault?
he's there. I mean,
He turned on the fucking thing, bro. When he accessed the ship, when he put his key in, that's
okay.
that's what brought General Zod to Earth in the first place, bro. He sent a beacon.
Well, how was he supposed to know that?
Regardless, it's his fault. Well, yeah,
No.
even if it was an accident, it's his fault.
No, I don't think it's his fault at all.
He set the fucking beacon, bro.
That's stupid.
If he wasn't curious, they weren't gonna
that's
come
like
to Earth.
that's like you saying I'm gonna by going to buy this food from this restaurant and then eating it and then taking a dump. That means that now there's waste in the water and that's my fault.
What?
yeah, but that's his fault because he ate the food.
No, but
I mean, wait, I'm trying to understand.
What the point I'm making is
Wait,
that
say it again. Say it again.
so it's like the point I'm making is that you're trying to say it's indirect, but he didn't. How is he supposed to?
Okay.
How is it his fault if it's something he wouldn't even know that would happen?
I'm not
But the
saying
whole
I'm not saying that he should have known better at the time. Like he didn't know shit, but like he still caused it regardless.
No, I don't
It's-
think it's his fault at all. Because even if you look at it through like, okay, well, what about the fight that happened there? Well, it's not even his fault that the fight happened there. It just that's where the enemy was. Like,
yeah, that's
like if if-
sure.
like if your complaint is like, oh, he activated a beacon. First of all, how was he gonna know that it was a beacon? Second, how did he didn't even know what his people were called. He didn't know what about the history of his planet. He didn't even know who his fucking parents were. How was he supposed to know all that shit?
Okay,
So it's
but
his father's fault for not
It's-
telling him.
No, no,
Oh,
no,
this
but-
is a beacon that's gonna
No,
send.
but how is his
like
father's?
three-
But his
3 weeks
father.
old.
But his father doesn't even know that General Zod is alive.
Okay.
no, but
Nobody knows that General Zod is
Yeah.
alive
Yeah.
except for the crew, because everyone else who knew General Zod
Was
is
dead.
already dead.
It's
Yeah.
gone.
Chris, was Superman the reason why General Zod came to Earth? Was he the reason?
I mean, yeah, technically,
Yes, so it's his fault.
technically,
That's what I'm
technically, yes,
saying.
technically yes, but they were
So
they
that's
were
what I'm
trying to,
saying.
but they were trying to find him for a long
I'm
time.
not.
either
I'm not
way.
saying. I'm not saying like we should blame him for it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying it's his fault for them that they came.
No, he's the
Because
reason.
he has-
He's the reason they came to
so it's
Earth.
his fault that they came.
There's nothing he could have done differently for Metropolis not. Metropolis is it Metropolis? Yeah, Metropolis
yeah.
not to be.
New York.
Metropolis to not be attacked, right?
Well,
It would have been any other city, regardless.
but the thing is, the reason why I'm saying it's not his fault is because it's for it to be his fault, it has to be like sort of a direct consequence generally, right? So, for example, if you put if you put that glass on the edge here and then the glass falls and breaks, that's your fault for putting the glass there. But in his case, he activated a beacon. He didn't do anything wrong per se. It's just that it happened to be connected to
No, but
a
it could.
signal because the ship happened to be a scout ship from fucking eons ago.
But it could still be an involuntary fault. So, like, I don't know. I trip and I drop something. It's still my fault, even though I didn't mean to drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, you didn't know. Here's the thing: even if you tripped and fell, that's sort of like a direct action. That's sort of like directly your fault still.
But exactly.
But what
even
I'm saying-
if I
but what I'm
didn't mean to.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, if you trip and fall, and let's say you're holding a jar and you trip and fall and the jar breaks,
That's on you.
that's directly your fault. Yeah, right. That's on you.
That's on you. That's fully on you.
Yes. But if you push a button and to watch a video or whatever, and then it turns out that it turned off the video, the satellite from someone else or someone else's TV by just because you clicked this button, is that your fault for turning that guy's TV off?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not your
because
fault.
You did it.
It's my fault, but it
It's
doesn't.
an indirect. It's an indirect consequence of an action.
But you're
you
still the
took.
reason why that happened. So
No,
technically it's your fault.
No, that's fucking stupid.
I mean, it's the same thing. If you have your like these sus message on your phone from the bank and stuff, where they think it's a bank and then these people tap on it and you get scammed and lose your money, it's
you're not gonna go to
literally
jail
fault, you
for
know?
it, Chris. But it's still your fault. Like it's not you didn't do anything criminal by doing what
No,
you
I
did.
disagree.
It's a direct
No.
cause and
I
consequences.
disagree.
You know.
What do you think? Put it in the
Put in
comments.
the comment section.
Like the video.
if you don't like this argument,
You should
dislike
make a poll. Is it Superman's fault? Yes, no.
Actually, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, let me see. Can you actually do that on YouTube?
Yeah,
I think you
make
can,
a
yeah.
poll- a
Oh,
poll.
sick.
But you can make it where it's like a right or wrong answer, and I'll make it where it's not Superman's fault. That's right.
Fuck you.
Bias.
Yeah, but literally the three of us are like disagreeing with
Let
you.
the people
it's all
say.
stupid.
Let's hear the people think.
No, I don't think it's his fault. Personally, I don't
Haram.
think. I don't think it's his fault
Okay.
because
Valid.
because it doesn't.
I don't think we should blame him. I'm
Yeah.
not saying we should blame him,
But that's what
but
exactly.
it's still
but
his
that's,
fault.
that's exactly what you're saying. It's like, oh, it's your fault. That
No,
yeah.
dude. Anyways, like we're not gonna throw examples around. If something happens, like the butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ripple effect, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Basically.
is it a butterfly's fault that there's a tornado? The
Yes.
other side of the world? No, it's not. That's stupid.
But literally, if the butterfly
That's fucking
didn't exist,
stupid.
the
Butterflies
tornado wouldn't
cause
happen.
tornadoes. Like, no, bro. That's not how it works.
I mean, it's the same thing. If a president does a bad, if a president does a shit fiscal choice and the economy crashes, it's his fault. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but
You know?
that's him making a shit. That's him making a thing that's directly going to cause that.
But
And
that's
he
what
knows-
But
happened.
he did a thing that directly caused.
Yeah,
a
but
beacon.
what I'm saying is that the president made an intentionally bad decision.
But he doesn't
even
know it's bad.
intentionally or not. He made a bad decision on an overall scale, right?
Mhm.
Superman. I don't think anyone here can agree. I don't think everyone here disagrees or anything that Superman going to the ship was not a bad idea because he wanted to see what his family was about and
But
everything.
how
right?
did he know it was his family and all of that? It's
Well, he
just
traced it there. He
He
traced,
traced
it.
it, right?
Yeah.
Or like he wanted to figure out more about who his people were at least.
okay.
Nobody has a problem with that. The problem was that happened to happen as Zod was trying to find him, and that by accident activated an emergency message to Kryptonian, message boards or whatever.
That's true.
But it's still his fault, even though it's an accident. It's still
It's
indirectly
not,
his
but
fault.
It's not indirect. It's not. It's to me. It makes no sense for it to be his fault.
But I mean, people don't have a problem with him going to the beacon or whatever it's called because they don't know that there's negative implications. But the action happened, and that's how he triggered. That's how Zod was able to see.
Yeah,
Rules
but
on Earth.
But we're
I mean,
also
that's the
talking about
thing.
the destruction of Metropolis itself.
I mean, okay, take out the ship from the equation. Metropolis is not going to be destroyed from Zod. Zod never knows that Superman's on Earth. So by him going to the ship, he's directly the cause for Metropolis' destruction.
By him going to Zod's ship.
No, on the
Like the
scavenger
ship in the
Scout ship.
Yeah, the scout ship.
No,
If the ship didn't exist,
Listen, we're going in circles. I
Yeah.
think we should just agree to disagree. and then
Let
move
the
on.
people think. Let the people think.
Yeah. Let's see the 99% agree agreement.
The silent
Yeah,
majority,
fuck you.
they're gonna be on the pulse.
Okay, so let's continue. Why is the destruction of Metropolis not Superman's fault?
is that actually your next
no,
question?
no, no. Okay.
Hell no.
It's okay. What made the killing of Zod difficult for Superman?
He was the last. Other than Superman, he was the last one left from his
Krypton.
race. Yeah, so that's why it was difficult. So,
Wait,
like,
is he though? Like all of the cells in his body are.
but how are you gonna reproduce, like the population?
Lois Lane.
Yeah, but she's not Kryptonian though. That's the thing. Because like they were gonna create like the people from their fucking process, whatever you call it, like using the codex. But now you can't do that because like all the evidence is destroyed. Like all those cells or whatever they stored. Zod was the last one left. But like he killed the last Kryptonian after.
But okay, well, do you
Yeah.
think so? So you think it impacted him because of the fact that he was the last Kryptonian, right?
yeah.
Does everyone agree with that?
I'm fully on the same page with him. Yeah.
What about you, Alejandro? I could see you're processing. You're like, nah, this
So
motherfucker's
He's
wrong.
cooking. He's
no,
cooking
no,
something.
no. So there is an aspect of him being the last Kryptonian, but I also think there's the aspect of him not necessarily being a good guy. Like if they were buddies, it wouldn't be the same thing as killing someone who's trying to harm the people you care about, right?
So sorry. That
So,
that
like,
would make
okay.
him react. No. 'Cause the question is like, why was he sad that he killed him?
Yeah, so there is that aspect, but I think it's also the part of him having that humanity. So like, okay, I'll give you
Like the fact that he killed someone. Is
Yeah,
that what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying? Oh, okay,
kind of
okay.
like how Batman doesn't want to kill.
Yeah.
Like
You're like, fuck, I can't believe I did this.
Yeah.
I let like 2 million people die while Metropolis was getting destroyed and me just fucking flying through buildings
See, that's what
But
that was
killing
the whole
Zod
point. That was the whole point.
is gonna make me cry.
That was the whole point
you
of the
know?
last question. Is not whether or not he activated the beacon. Was like the destruction in Metropolis through the fight, was it his fault or not? And I
Oh,
don't
for
think-
sure.
No,
I
for
don't-
sure.
He had the power to bring the fight elsewhere because all Zod wanted was to kill him, but they kept it in Metropolis and they still kept.
No, 'cause
Destroying
I think
more and
Zod.
more-
I think Zod
And they went through
did
buildings
this-
as well.
No, I think Zod did it on purpose, where he wanted the fight to be in the city.
Yeah, but you don't think
So
Superman
exactly, it's
could
his
have?
fault.
No. What I'm saying, it's Superman. It's not Superman's fault because Superman was just trying to stop
Okay.
Zod, not necessarily trying to fight him. He
But-
wasn't trying to kill
yeah.
him. He's just trying to stop him from
Mhm.
doing that. You know.
I agree with that, but you don't think that Superman could have at least put the effort to bring the fight?
Dude, the city's fucking massive.
I understand. No, but like
But that's
the
like you can put-
space
put
or like
somewhere
literally in the
else.
middle of nowhere.
You don't
'Cause,
choose.
bro, for example,
you don't choose where.
Zod.
Oftentimes, you don't choose where you battle. Right. That's where it happened. Even if you try to punch him into space, he punched him into space. They went to space.
I understand that.
But then Zod brought it back there, and it's like you can't control it. Like you have this guy on your ass, and it's like, oh, let me fly to the countryside. You can't necessarily do that, bro. Sometimes like the guy's fast too, you know. Like,
Of course,
he's gonna be on your
but
ass.
like there was no like intention from Superman to like try to bring him elsewhere. You know,
elsewhere.
like for example, when Zod like kicked the truck at him and then it blew up
He
behind
just-
him.
Yeah, that's one. Of
He's
them.
like, oh, let me just dodge this. Let this building fucking collapse behind me. Let other like I don't know how many thousand people die.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind is
Journey-
Zod wasn't after a city. He was after Superman. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
no,
But he was after
he,
killing like
he wanted
everybody.
to kill people.
Like once he killed Superman, like I'm pretty sure he wanted to destroy the entire human race.
Yeah.
That was his intention. So like he wanted to kill people while he was fighting Superman. That's for sure. But like Superman he had like no intention to protect the people around him during the fight for some reason.
Acceptable.
That's another problem I had with the film, which I want to bring up. I'll bring it up now, I guess.
We'll bring it up. We'll bring it up later. But
Okay,
let's
okay.
focus on the question again.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
question.
so you would put the blame on Superman for bringing the fight into Metropolis?
Not fully.
I mean, look, you got this giant spaceship showing up in the middle of your city. You're not gonna try to evacuate the people. You're just gonna let them stay there, chill, watch it,
Well, yeah, that's
Destroy
the
it?
thing.
right?
Yeah.
No, I think there's also a certain aspect of, like, not necessarily the army, but whoever is managing the city to like evacuate
Yeah.
and let whatever happens. Like, so okay, I'll give you another example. There's a war going on.
Yeah.
Are you not gonna try to evacuate the people?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so whoever's left there is their fault. It's their fault, right? It's not Superman's fault for.
No, but nobody saw that coming.
I mean, you got this thing coming.
If like the
Oh,
street
you-
looked pretty clean, so you can tell like if anyone's still there at that point in time, they're pretty fucking stupid to be.
Yeah,
there.
it's their
how,
there
how
were-
much time do you think it takes to evacuate a city?
An hour.
more.
Because first of all,
Because there's traffic as well, I
At
mean.
least an hour. Like I would say easily like 3 hours at least. The spaceship was already floating in like whatever part of
Yeah.
the atmosphere it was in for like I want to say at least a day or two. Let's say it was already there. They see it floating down. It came down in like 30 seconds. By the time people even start evacuating or thinking about it, yes, the people that were right in the middle were fucking idiots. But like the FBI or the government had no like they didn't make any like they
True.
didn't try to evacuate the
Nah.
city in the first
It was
place.
just, yeah,
so
people
were
are
stuck
coming.
there
Yeah, but
because they
that
didn't know
was
what the threat was. Right? They had no idea. They said they gave Superman, and they're assuming that Zod is like a
I
man
mean,
of their word.
they kind
should-
of planned it, no? Because they
Mhm.
had this whole using Superman's spaceship that he came to destroy it and send them back to the Phantom Zone. So they knew what they were gonna do eventually, right? With the
No, but they start thinking of that once they start terraforming.
yeah, exactly. Wait, did they?
Yeah.
No,
Lois
that was
Lane-
they
Lois
knew,
Lane
they
came.
knew that was their plan. So then she came up with a plan to counter that.
Yeah.
Right.
But then it was like as soon as they landed. So that's also sort of on the FBI for being like, okay, guys, in case of danger, let's evacuate. The
Yeah,
city.
exactly.
Yeah.
They had a plan, so they could have evacuated as soon as the plan
let's say
was.
No, but you're sure the plan happened before they started terraforming? I'm pretty sure.
No, the plan because what are they gonna be like? Oh shit, they're terraforming. Okay, guys, what's the plan? It's not like that. It's they had the plan and then they started terraforming.
Because okay, no, you're wrong, and I remember why exactly. Remember when the doctor was in that room there, and they were looking at like the screen there, with like the world, and you saw the process, and he's like, oh my gosh, they're terraforming, and then it was afterwards that they were outside next, like in the wherever they were. Like they were at the.
Yeah, but Lois came up with a plan beforehand.
No, but dude, that was after they started terraforming.
No, but after
The scientist was after.
Was it?
Okay,
Yes.
wait. So exactly, they started terraforming. So at that point, they could have evacuated the city, not wait for Superman to
They
battle
were
it out.
though. The police was evacuating the city.
Were they?
Yeah, bro. Remember that when the people were running, he's like, this way, this way. But at that point, it was too late.
I think it should have happened the second that they saw something that wasn't.
No, you're right.
But either way,
I'm
either
just
way,
saying
you're
that
dumb.
they started
That's where I see-
evacuating
yeah.
afterwards.
Either way, you're dumb for staying in a building
Yes.
while you go to the fucking underground of buildings. That's the best place
Yeah.
to hide.
Mhm.
Always. That's the fault of the people, not Superman. Has nothing to do with
No,
Superman.
I'm saying it's the fault
Yeah.
of the government. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the evacuation part, for sure. Guaranteed.
Okay, about going back to the killing of Zod, like what made the killing of Zod difficult for Superman?
He's losing that humanity. You're taking away a life, right? I think once you take that part away of you, you're kind of like on edge.
I mean, it comes down to morality.
I think it has
You know?
more to do with the fact that he doesn't want to kill,
Yeah.
and he was forced to make that decision in that
Mhm.
moment.
Mm.
Like he obviously, the destruction of the city caused like some form of indirect damage via Superman, right? Him blasting through buildings and shit,
Right.
The
right?
buildings left and right, yeah.
But that caused death, but that's not him trying to kill. That's the effects of it. That's why
Mhm.
Batman gets into a big fuss about it in the next movie, right? Because it causes a lot of destruction.
Can I ask a question?
But hold
then?
on.
Okay, go for it.
But in this case, in the case of Zod, he was forced to make that decision. He didn't want to. He didn't
Mhm.
want to make that decision. He lost control.
Right.
Go ahead.
Do you think that going to that extent, right? That Superman doesn't want to take lives or anything. So do you think that the fight scene and like a lot of other aspects in the movie, do you think that it was, I guess, fan service, or like just an opportunity for like the studio to just show like, oh, like look how powerful these gods are, you know? Like
I don't see.
pushing it through the limit for
I-
no fucking reason.
I don't see the point of your question.
The point of my question, basically, all the destruction, Superman avoiding the truck, for example, to show, oh, I can glide, and an explosion behind me that can directly affect me isn't gonna do much. Do you think that that's like a degree of fan service because they just want to show how powerful Superman
Well,
is, even
obviously
though he
they-
could avoid it?
Obviously, they wanted to
Sure.
make entertaining movies. This was a time, I think, where the Transformers movies. I mean, the Transformers movies came out way before,
Right.
but the whole Michael Bay-ism kind of
Yeah.
explosion fest was still something that was relatively new. That's why, I didn't think I was gonna write as little notes as I did. I just wrote like a page and a half. But a lot of the movie is a lot of action, right? And it's great action. But the thing is, it's not about. I'm not talking about like the studio and what they chose
Yeah.
to do.
No,
I'm
but
I'm
so
saying,
my
like,
question is, do they sacrifice action for plot?
Oh yeah.
just
Yes, 100%.
plot for action. Yeah.
100%.
I think it was plot
Yeah.
for action. Yeah.
The script has so many like plot holes.
And you're like, what's going on? Like, you can tell you're missing information. That's
Yeah.
why we're having a lot of these questions and we don't have enough evidence to say, yeah,
Well,
it's this
also,
or it's not this.
also, it's. But we'll get to that a bit later. But like, because we're going to talk about our thoughts on the film. But does anyone have anything to add with the killing of Zod? Because I think I made myself pretty clear in terms of like him not being able to control that decision to kill. Right. All right. In that case, so speaking of that, is what is in your opinion the deeper meaning of the film? Besides, how to not blow up a city.
To ignore what your adopted parents taught you, and then basically have basically prove that like
Oh my
your adopted dad's death meant nothing, and that you turn to your actual biological dad the moment you see him and like follow his words.
Okay, put that in a sentence now.
Put that in Chat GPT to make it shorter. In 5 words or less.
Basically ignore everything you learned in the last 33 years and then listen to your
But why
biological
33?
father. He's 33 years old
But why 33?
because he's Jesus.
And I was going to come to that. I think one of the things of the movie, the question was, what was the deeper meaning of the movie? I think it's
Yeah.
the power of sacrifice, you know? Like,
No, but I didn't. Sorry, before you continue, seriously, what do you think?
Yeah,
If you don't have an answer,
in a
don't
sentence.
say
In a
it.
sentence.
The meaning of the movie.
Yeah. Besides, ignoring your parents.
It's hard to say because that's another, again, like one of the issues I have with the movies is because they had a lot of things that they were working with, like a lot of meanings that they were trying to put in one movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's like they were talking about like the importance of identity and being unique in your person, since Superman was like the only natural born like child of Krypton in like the last, I don't know how many centuries or something, and like how it's important for you to have your own thoughts and not to be programmed or like follow like necessarily like a system and stuff. So there's that. There's the thing of like protecting the people that you care for and the
Just
people
one.
around you. Huh?
Just one.
Yeah, just pick
please.
the
Just pick one,
top
please.
one.
No, but okay, like you want me to like I'm
Well,
just
like,
saying 'cause
don't
these
write
are
a
the-
fucking
no,
top
but
10
like
list.
okay, because I'm saying like these are the meanings that I got from the film,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll keep some of them for you too. Like those are two.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are two.
So wait, what was it? Just reiterate in 5
So-
words or less.
Protecting the people that are around you that you care about,
more than 5.
and fuck you, and basically having a unique identity, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
I fully agree with Auden on the side of, I think the movie, not that I mean the movie, it lacks something in terms of the plot. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, so there's not much of one thing you can take of it. It's more like there's a lot of that you can take from one or two instances, right? So one of the things that I saw was the power of sacrifice. Like back to the connection with Jesus. I mean, Superman's beyond like human, and then everyone else is human. So if we look at the competition level or ability level, this guy's on top, and every other human is like average, basically. Why does he have to sacrifice himself? Why does he have to put his life on the line? Unless because other humans could do the same thing. So I think the main plot of the movie was at what extent does he want to sacrifice? At what extent does he want to take that step and say, yeah, I want to put my life on the line,
Doing the right thing.
basically.
Okay.
I'm kind of going to go with both of your ideas. So I think there's also the aspect of not necessarily race, but like it kind of goes with identity. So they were fully willing to give up Superman because he's Kryptonian. He's not from this earth. He's a foreigner, stranger, whatever, right? But as soon as they wanted Lois Lane, they were like, no, you never said anything about
One of us.
one of us, exactly, right? So I think there's that aspect of belonging. So if you belong, you're part of our community. We're willing to protect you. If you're not part of us,
One of us.
whatever happens, right? So I think that's
Don't you find that funny though when like Lois just said, "No, it's okay, I'll go." He's like, "Okay, go along." It's like, the fuck? What was the
It's
point of
like,
that?
we want her. No, I'll go. All right.
Literally.
Okay, this is mine. Mine is, I think, one I haven't heard. Maybe if there's a comment or something that was written in another video, maybe, but I didn't watch any videos for this movie. I wrote, the film is about controlling yourself and understanding situations where you have no control and taking a leap of faith.
Man, that's a whole ass thesis statement, but it's good.
That's good.
So
It is good.
So the whole movie, right? Like we were talking about, we were arguing about earlier, right? That obviously the argument where I'm right and you guys are wrong.
right.
actually. Sure.
Wait,
just
wait,
agree
hold
on
on. Where Superman did something, he activated the beacon
Right.
and unwillingly had Zod come to Earth, and now he has to deal with a situation in which he has no control over. But which is why it's not his fault. I agree. So.
Pick your battles, boys.
So in his case, in the case of, like, let's say what we were talking about earlier with Zod and having to kill Zod, he had no control as to whether or not he was going to be able to kill Zod, because Zod was never going to stop, and he realized that in that moment. This is something I read. He realized that Zod was never going to stop, and he had to kill him in order to ensure the safety of Earth, even though that's something he never would have wanted to do. It's something he had to do. Same thing with, you know, living the life that he has to live. He had to learn how to control his powers so that he could. He had to understand his powers and understand his situations and understand the power and the damage he can do to others, so that he doesn't go too far in certain situations, such as, like, let's say with the bullies, people bullying him and stuff.
Isn't this one of the questions of morality? The trolley question, where you have to kill one or kill five, and then you have to like pick one or the other. So like Superman's purposely picking to kill one person to save five other people.
I mean,
because
it's literally that though. Because
the alternative,
but that's the thing. It was literally that in the movie,
right?
Because it was five people he doesn't know, right? That family.
Yeah.
And then it was Zod, who he didn't know and had a connection with because he's Kryptonian and he's one of his people. And if he didn't pull the lever, kill Zod,
the other people would
have died.
Would have been gone. Yeah.
So he had to make that decision. It's about making difficult decisions that you can't. It's like it's the control. It's like you have to have the control that he had is to make those very difficult decisions, such as killing Zod,
or even saving his father. You know.
Yeah,
time,
he said that his father didn't want him to save him.
Right.
The reason why is because his father didn't think he was ready yet to expose himself, because he could have gone in there.
Yeah.
In and out
Light
very
work.
quickly.
Light work.
Easy.
But
but when it came time to Zod, he had to make that very difficult decision, and a lot of people didn't like the scene where he killed Zod. I don't know what you guys think of that scene.
the screaming or the actual act of killing?
The actual act of killing Zod. People thought, that's not what Superman would have done.
So what would he have done?
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point I thought of. Like, but it's an interesting thing because he had to make that difficult decision. He had to make the difficult decision of either letting these five people die or killing this one man with his own hands, and by the same time extinguishing the flame of his race, but at the same time also saving these people.
That was another flaw as well. I remembered from that fight that like General Zod didn't just kill those people, because like while he was like held like this,
Yeah, you could have just.
he literally like looks at Superman. He's like, what did he say exactly? He said
It's like if you love these people,
if you love these people so much, you would mourn for them or something.
You can mourn for them.
Yeah, like he literally looks at him like this and then turns to do the laser eyes. But if he already did this motion, like, can't he just fucking?
No, I don't think he looked back.
He looked like this.
And
then what, bro? Literally, you'll find it. Like you can put it like in the video. You'll be able to find the scene. He looks back at him, and then turns to the. It's so stupid. Like
Show the people.
Oh my god! And yeah, there was like a lot of stupid flaws like that in the movie that kind of pissed me off.
There's a lot of these. That's what I was saying. Like where it lacks plot or where it lacks, something that's going on, and you're like,
look, he literally looks back at him. You saw that?
Yeah, but at that point, Superman controls. Like he has him in control, right? He brings him back down. It's not as simple, bro. It's not as simple as you think.
that's what the VR says.
Bro,
That's what the VA.
he had him in the same position.
Yeah, but like
bro.
you can mourn for them, but then he pulls down, but then he tries to control him, but like, obviously. But obviously, there's like some flaws in the movie.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect movie. And speaking of flaws, you guys have anything else to add? Okay. Speaking of flaws in the movie, what are your thoughts on the film? And we'll also give a rating. So, Alec, we'll start with you.
Honestly, I watched the movie for the first time when it came out. I forgot when. And then I watched it again yesterday. And I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to understand. The plot made sense itself, but there's a lot of things that were missing, or there was a lot of things going on, where first there was the bullying, then there was a bus, well, not in order, and then and then there was and then his father was dying, and then Zod comes, holds the entire world hostage, and it's like, wouldn't it have been better if Zod held the world hostage from the start of the movie, well, a bit after the start, and then there would have been a lot more battle, or not battle, but a lot of more, let's say, conflict.
So like skip the whole coming of age part and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
Superman is Superman.
Let the conflicts have happened during the battle. So at that point, the battle would have been, I think, in a way, there would have been more
Gooder.
competition. Gooder.
Gooder.
It would have been a barn burner, if you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Honestly.
Okay, so we'll go do the ratings afterwards. Cause,
My bad.
we'll do the ratings.
Okay, so I don't give a rating.
No, don't give a rating.
Okay.
Okay, it's not a 7 then. My bad.
Stupid.
Go for it.
I think they tried to make Superman something that he wasn't. Like the whole movie. Like,
What do you mean by that?
I get it. The DC universe was starting, but like it was way too dark for Superman. Superman is a light character. I feel like he's bright. He's like the main guy of the
Mhm.
Justice League, right? They could have made the movie a lot.
I mean, I personally disagree.
You think keeping it dark? Because like I think they made
the
it.
dark undertones accentuates, I think, what Superman is really about. Because I don't look at Superman as everyone complains about Superman and they say, "Oh, I don't like Superman because he's too overpowered."
Mhm.
But that's the premise of the story. It's that he's supposed to be overpowered, and the whole conflict is him trying to do the right thing.
But then
The powers,
he's
yeah.
he's a different character from Batman. If it was a Batman movie, I'd be perfectly fine with it being dark because that's his whole persona,
Yeah.
right?
But you don't think Superman is like the light in such a dark world?
But
So
that's the
don't you
whole.
think-
That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Is like because not everything can be hunky dory.
No, for sure.
So they're trying to do this dark tone because it's trying to fit like a new. Because DC's always been darker regardless.
I know for sure.
Always. So it's been always darker than, let's say, Marvel. Marvel is doing
Mhm.
like the lighty, more like brighter stuff.
Yeah.
Brighter stuff.
Brighter.
Like,
With
I'm not-
like Avengers and stuff like that. But like in terms of DC, it's always supposed to be dark. And then when you see DC going light, kind of in the same way as in the same way as Marvel as in Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Justice League was a dog shit movie, right? It was
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
like, for example, with that. But then when they did the Snyder Cut, which you haven't seen, which we won't spoil, it's a lot darker. It's a much more thematic. It's shot. DC movies are typically shot like comic books,
Mm-hmm.
right? They use the same panels for comic books, but it's a different vibe. But that's why. But if that's your opinion, like if you think it's too. But what do you mean like too dark? Like what would you have changed in terms of?
So, first of all, the way I would have made it, I think I would went a little bit with you, like the way you went
Mhm.
for it. Either go with fully coming of age or fully fighting. Like I wouldn't mix the two of them because the merge.
It wasn't.
It
Are
wasn't.
you saying it wasn't developed in either?
Yeah, exactly. I think
Okay.
they tried to like mix the two of them into one with the whole darkest aesthetic. I think that it was too much was going on at once.
Do you think? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's something a bit off, but like also that could have applied with this movie. Do you think they should do part 1s and part 2s for movies? Like they make a movie that's like 4 hours,
I'm not a big fan.
and
of
then they cut it in half, and then they can sell it as 2 movies. Because for something like this, where you need to have Superman, be built up, something where you can fully develop the childhood and stuff like that, and fully develop some of the stuff, some of the powers, and then have him fight whatever the fuck, and then Zod comes in at the end of the first movie, and then continues on in the
Leaves it on a
second one.
cliffhanger. Yeah.
I think
Something like
they could have picked an easier villain because Zod is very complex as a villain, right? He has
So
this
who-
whole backstory,
so
his
who would you-
connection.
So who would you have picked personally? I think, but okay, go ahead.
To fight Superman. I think
I swear, if you say Lex Luthor,
no. They did that with Batman versus Superman, right? They
oh my
tried
God.
to mix in Lex Luthor.
God damn!
I don't know actually.
fucking Killer Croc.
Like
I think General Zod was.
Yeah, I think Zod was a very good villain
choice.
because it exposes him to Kryptonian ideals.
yeah,
It's not like he just
Mm.
he opens his fucking box and then
But-
and then he gets like the suit. It's like he finds Jor-El gives him the suit, and then he encounters Zod, and then he finds out what it means to be Kryptonian, and then he kind of has to like break that down.
Don't you
But-
think
but
that's a lot in like 2 hours?
That is a lot though
It's a bit
in
too
2 hours.
condensed,
It's
yeah.
too condensed. I think the movie would have done better if it was 2.5 hours, maybe 3.
like
Like
there's
touching
a
3, like 2 hours 45 minutes would have been perfect.
I mean, look, okay. You're someone who doesn't know anything about Superman. You're learning about this character for the first time. That's a lot of information.
It-
What's Krypton? What's this guy's powers?
there's
Who
a lot of exposition for certain.
like that's a lot of information to grasp, and on top of that you're bringing all of these Kryptonian values that kind of clash with humans values. I think that's a lot of stuff to put into a
Okay.
2.5 hour movie.
I don't even think the introduction was well put, to be honest, because we see Krypton is crashing, right? We see all that happening, and then we see Zod that's doing an insurgency in a way. And while Superman was my bad, while Superman was born, they were trying to send him to Earth, right?
Mhm.
But that was it. And then they said, yeah, you guys are sentenced to 300 years in the Phantom Galaxy or whatever it was called. I think what Ali
the
said,
Phantom Yacht.
wherever it was, yeah. And
Bring on them hoes, bro.
there you go. And it's basically like, what is Krypton? You know, like, what's going on? We don't know that it's because they used too much. You'd have to watch, I think, the previous movies to know that there's a Krypton. And
Well, it depends, because who are they trying to market the movie for?
Like,
are they
are you-
trying to market the movie for Superman fans, or are they trying to market it for people who don't know Superman?
I mean, okay,
I think
I'll
everyone
give you another example of movies of a movie who did it well. I think like Batman, the first Batman Begins.
Okay.
I think that was well done because they show his beginnings, they show his upbringing,
Huh.
and they didn't just smack Joker like his greatest villain right into the first movie.
Well, that's the argument, right? Is Joker his greatest villain? But even then, like they put Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow in the same movie.
Yeah, but
Is that
they
such a-
didn't dive into their backstories as much. They focused a lot more on.
I think both of those guys deserve their own.
Oh, for sure,
backstories.
for sure. But
Like, because Scarecrow,
main
Scarecrow was the fucking main villain in Arkham Knight.
the main focus of the movie
Besides
is
the Arkham
Batman, right?
Yeah.
You same thing for here. The main focus is Superman. You don't want to take that away from him.
True.
So like bringing a character that's
So do you think they could have scrapped the beginning of Krypton and shit? But I think even then, like, because it makes a lot of the heartstring pulls
Mhm.
weaker in later on, because the whole thing, it's Jor-El talking to Kal-El about Krypton and telling him like what he was brought onto the world to do. I think those are really powerful scenes that we could have missed out if there wasn't that initial exposition, there wasn't that initial explanation. I think there's a lot of explaining in this movie instead of it's much more in some instances it's more telling, not showing,
Mhm.
when it could have been more the other way around. But again,
Right.
it required more time, in which time they clearly cut out to fit into 2 hours when it could have been easily 2.5 hours. I think it was too short.
I think it would have made a big difference, to be honest. That 30
Yeah,
minutes,
explaining,
critical 30
yeah.
minutes.
I think they cut
I
out
still,
a-
but I still think they were working with like a lot of themes in the movie.
yeah.
There's still
That's
like,
what it is.
yeah.
So exactly,
Do you
they
think-
could have modified.
I would
some-
rather they'd kept it at 2 hours, develop more on certain themes and eliminate others instead of just bring everything together.
What themes would you have liked for them to keep? Do you think they should?
I
keeping
think
the
I
Jesus
think
stuff?
the
No,
oh
I'm
bro,
serious. I'm
like
serious. I'm serious though. Like, do you think the Jesus stuff?
I mean the Jesus stuff were more like symbolic. They weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like him floating in space like this, or claiming that he's like 33 years old and shit, or like literally I don't know.
But
He's
even
a god.
from the start of the movie, this guy sent to save the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was there from the start till the end. you
Yeah,
know?
but like I don't consider that a theme necessarily. That's more like a parallel, like an interesting parallel that you can make. But I think like for example, having him not interact with Jor-El during the movie would have first of all saved time, and I think would have been able to put more time to focus on like other aspects. Because already there, when I first saw the movie, I found that very confusing. How like you have like a ghost of Jor-El that like basically
Again,
feels emotions.
no, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think you can have that, but there's certain aspects I think you can develop on a deeper level that would have made the show or the movie much more impactful, especially stuff like Zod floating in space or something like that.
I mean, they already you mentioned it in the beginning. They took out the whole Jonathan and Martha Kent bringing up Clark, right? Showing the
Mhm.
right values in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, because they only
If
show
they,
the
if,
worst
they,
stuff.
if they added an extra 15 minutes to that, how much more impactful would
I would
John
rather they
Chance
add more like 15 minutes of that of
Mhm.
like him learning to
be a good man?
be a good man and what it is to be human,
Mhm.
and then eliminate the interactions with Jor-El, because technically speaking, he was never supposed to have those interactions in the first place.
No, but I'm saying I like the interactions with Jor-El because it's like the two parts of himself are starting to come together, right? So for a long time he's learning to be human, but now he's learning what it means to be Kryptonian from his own father.
It's a duality, yeah.
It's that duality, and he gets to become the bridge between the two worlds, which is what Jor-El was talking
Sure.
about. And I really like those scenes because I think it's very impactful.
You
to
know what
his
part
character.
they could have taken out? That whole fishman arc part, like that whole
Yeah, I remember I saw that for the first time. Like, what is that?
him
What-
being a
yeah.
fisherman, him being a bartender, whatever.
It would have been really impactful, I think, if the first scene, but the bartending scene I like because it shows how nice Superman is. Like,
But they could have done
that he's a
it
good person.
differently, though.
They could have done
Mhm.
that different, but him doing the odd jobs and stuff could have been taken out. I think maybe one or again, it's
It
one or
would
two.
that was more like a vessel to help Lois track back to where Superman came from. That was really that because and then they were making parallels from like his childhood, like him saving the bus and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. From that, it's like again, dude, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like the way that they wrote him, like his upbringing in this movie, like would have fit a character like fucking Brightburn to develop, rather than the other way around.
So how would you have done it?
How would have I had like again like bro? I would show Jonathan Kent and Martha like teaching him like what it means to be
I would show a
human.
lot more. Yeah.
A lot more
A
of
lot more.
their like chemistry,
So-
their connection with
So
their
I think
son.
I think it would have been more
And-
interesting
yeah.
if he had outbursts of his strength, and then they
Sure.
were telling him control these powers,
like control these powers, and then
so
there's
that you
other
don't get-
ways. Yeah,
so that you don't get hurt. Like there's people out there who would hurt you or something like. Well, not even that, but like I would say like be good to people, whatever, help them out in certain instances, but don't expose your power too much, kind of thing.
but more to like better develop on like what they were actually trying to teach it, because like until now, the more I rewatch it, like the more like this is what's coming to me is that like they were really teaching him to suppress his powers and to like let go of like his alien self, you know?
No, but
Because
I
like
don't
that's
think
it's
it's
so
that.
but
No,
like that's
no.
how it comes to me.
The problem was is that they didn't show enough scenes of them trying to help him control
Mm-hmm.
his powers,
Mhm.
and that's where I would have put that extra. That I would have put out of those 30 minutes, I would have put an extra 15 at least on
Yeah.
the
His
scenes
upbringing, yeah.
of the upbringing, so that you can see more of how Superman's mentality developed.
Mhm.
But that's
So
what
I
I'm saying.
think
Instead of
that would-
helping him, it felt more like suppressing.
That's the thing. So it's
That's
like,
my
it's,
problem
it's,
with it.
It's that you have a fair argument there. So yeah, my opinion is that I personally I really like the movie in terms of the style, the music,
Mm.
the action was great. In terms of a lot of there's a lot of messages here.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like I still had a hard time trying to come up with a message that's subliminal because everything is kind of laid out openly.
Mhm.
So that's why I came up with the control thing, where because it's a relatively subliminal thing, and it's interesting how, he's seen as some form of god to people of Earth and stuff like that. So here are we're gonna do the soundbite ratings. So it's out of 5, right?
Okay.
So I added 1. So the lowest rating, which is 1, is
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
the second lowest one is,
I mean, it's all right. Like,
and then the next one is, the fourth one is,
I'm about to blow.
and then the last one is.
That's what I'm talking about.
So we'll start with you, Alec. What do you think?
I'll give it a 4.
You get a
I'll give it
4?
Give that
I'm about to
soundbite.
blow.
And what do you think?
I'll give it a 3.
A 3?
Cinematography was fantastic. Like action shots were really good. Hans Zimmer, hands down.
Masterclass.
Hans Zimmer.
Isn't his name
Hans, bro.
Hans, bro. Hans.
Hans? Bro, my bad.
That's
Hans Zimmer, masterclass. Acting amazing. Actually, wait. This is a question. Oh yeah, the acting was great. Like
There's parts.
Yeah, sorry. There was parts that were like. I guess I'm referring more to like Henry Cavill.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, wait. Sorry, that's actually a question I want to ask you guys. Do you think Henry Cavill is a good cast for Superman? Because
course, yes.
initially I thought so too, but then I heard a very contradictory take that I think I agree with. He's a great Superman, but he's not a good Clark Kent
Yeah, I agree.
I like him.
because he's too
Jack.
handsome to be Clark Kent.
Wait, what?
Clark Kent, bro, he's a fucking.
So what do you
Clark
think he
Kent
should
is
be?
supposed to be a nerd. He's supposed to be like
This
some
is
nobody
hurrah.
that nobody gives a fuck about. But he's like the fucking bro. He's a supermodel, bro.
Did you ever watch
Buff and
Smallville?
shit,
Did
yeah.
you ever watch Smallville?
I feel like he's like that Smallville Superman is like the best Superman. Or one
Okay,
of the
and
best.
in that movie he wasn't a nerd. In that show he wasn't a
but
nerd.
like the actor.
No, but it's not.
they
It's not
ch-
that he's supposed to be a nerd. He just
He's
wears
supposed to be-
glasses, bro. That's just stereotypical.
or not
bullshit.
like a nerd, but just like someone.
You're stereotyping.
more
You're
geeky.
stereotyping Alejandro,
But
bro.
more
He wears
geeky.
glasses. And he's not a nerd.
Yo,
he's a fucking
literally,
Chad.
like my bad,
He's
bro.
the G, bro.
No, but more geek because like Superman, like he's so good. He can't do any harm willingly. Like I don't know if you've seen like those clips of like the animated like series where like Batman and Superman are like interrogating this guy,
Mhm.
and he's like like when he like points the lamp at the guy's face, he's like, "Oh, sorry, did I hurt you?" It's like he's supposed to be like, bro, he's just like a
No, but again, it's a different,
genuinely
it's a
nice
different take.
dude.
It's a different take on Superman. It's not the
Sure,
same.
but-
It's not the same take.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be this fucking jacked guy, but he's also really
he's
nice.
jacked, yeah.
But he's also kind
But
of.
he's supposed to have a kind face. He's not supposed to look like a fucking sex god, bro. Like that's literally what it is. But like that, listen, I love Henry Cavill. I think he's an amazing actor. And he did a great job in this
Clearly
scene.
you don't.
And he's the only reason why the scene of the fucking tornado that I hate so much was impactful was because of his acting. Because other than that, like I think it was stupid. But what I was getting at with this. So those are the things that were great. And then what I didn't like, too many messages, way too condensed and a lot of contradictory things. I give it a 3.
3.
3 out of 10.
Yeah.
So you give it a
And then,
or a.
I mean, it's all right.
No, that's a
Like,
2.
yeah, like sort of between.
So like a
Okay,
2.5.
so I have to
2.5,
make like I
2.5.
have to make like a sixth one.
No, it's fine. I think we can imagine.
Okay, number 2 would be.
Oh my god, bro, that's like a -2, bro. That ain't no 2.
No,
I
it's like
mean,
a,
it's all
it's like
right.
a
Like,
2.5.
Okay, I changed mine to that as well.
What?
It's all right.
I mean, it's all right. Like,
Wow. What a hater.
What's your?
I
rating?
like it. I liked it a lot. I think it was very stylish. I like the take that they had on Superman. It was a darker take. I like darker movies in general. I think
Oh yeah, same.
those have much. I prefer this over Superman turning the world around, and
Yeah, no
Yeah.
comedic relief kind of character.
I don't like. I really
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like comedic relief and stuff like this because it's like it's a serious tone.
Yeah. No, I
But
agree.
as soon as you take the comedic, as soon as you have comedic relief, it's
Mhm.
like. it
No, he's not a
sucks-
comedic
It
character.
sucks you out of the movie a lot.
Mhm.
Like in the sense of how like Thor: Love and Thunder, the comedy sucks you out of the movie consistently.
Mhm.
It's much more interesting if it's more serious.
Yeah, that was a really
Also, I
good
want to
point.
mention Russell Crowe would have been a great fucking Jedi. I noticed
So out
that.
of context, but
I know
yes.
it, but yes, he would have been. But my rating is
I'm at the blow.
Okay, so you give it a 4 out of 5.
That was a
Yes.
4.
4 out of 5. Yes,
Okay, interesting.
but there are obviously flaws. Again, it's very rushed.
Yes.
A bit too much action.
Yeah.
Because there's a
There's
lot of
inconsistencies.
bro. It's like there's action. There's like a 10-minute break in action again.
Yeah.
I think it would have been extended. If the
It-
movie would have been extended, as you guys said, it would have been a masterclass.
But
Yeah,
too much
honestly.
shit blowing up for no reason.
Like him fighting Feora and that other guy
yeah.
Yeah.
was interesting. It could have been like a 5-minute fight, short, something very short. But
I think they had to
Then-
show certain aspects as well, though. They had to show that humans were like powerless against them. So
but they were already kind of showing that in the other thing. But it was also very interesting. I liked how Feora was like doing really fast attacks.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Like that, I hadn't
Mhm.
seen any. I haven't seen really anything like
Mhm.
that in movies of someone moving really fast. You would expect Thor to move fast like that,
Mhm.
but he doesn't. He just swings that fucking hammer.
No, you think you know what they should have kept or like,
No, fuck you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You know what they should have like made longer in the movie, like scenes that should have extended were like those interrogation scenes between Superman and Lois where they're trying to figure out what the fuck the symbol on his chest was. Well, here it's an S.
But here it's like that's the symbol.
Like
of it.
I hate interactions like that, right? It's just like it's so
You think-
fucking useless.
You think it's redundant, basically?
so,
like,
dude?
unnecessary?
You're not bringing anything to the table
Mhm.
there. Oh my
well,
god.
they already explained. It would have been. I think it would have been more impactful if Jor-El didn't say it's our people, or it's our people's symbol for hope, you don't need to repeat the same fucking message twice in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like using, it's like imagine you're writing an essay and you make the same point twice twice within 2 paragraphs.
Or telling Cal exactly what we saw in the first like scenes of the movie. Like, because I mean, Jor-El was explaining to Clark Kent, like Superman, like what happened. In the
I think
beginning.
that was important though.
It was why.
It's explaining his background, explaining his people, explaining what happened. Why is he on Earth by himself?
I think that would have been
You don't
better.
think
I
could've
think it would have been
showed
better if how you said earlier, where if they had another villain instead of instead of Zod, they could have used the explanation they had in the scout ship.
Yeah.
And then that caused, like, later on for Superman, like, he fights, let's say, Lex Luthor, or he fights not Brainiac, someone like, I don't know, someone else, right?
Someone weaker.
Someone weaker. Darkseid. He fights fucking Hulk, and then and then in the next movie it's Zod. Then you have that opening of Krypton blowing up.
Exactly. I think that would have made the movie a lot better.
That would have streamlined the movie significantly, because it would have kind of left Krypton in a mysterious state, like, oh, what does Krypton look like, kind of thing. And then you would have had Russell Crowe there and everything, and like, oh, I'm your father. Oh, I am your father.
So you think it should easily be extended to 2 movies, basically?
Basically, you could.
It should have been rewritten.
Like, yeah, either you make a 4-hour-long movie split in 2, or you make 2 separate movies, one with one Superman villain and the other one with another. It's clear that they only did Zod because he was the only one that would fit this kind of theme,
The story,
in a way. But then they had, like, obviously the next one was he fought Batman, and then the next one after that he fights Batman and Doomsday, which is stupid. Why would you have them? That's what, like.
And then Wonder Woman just carries for some reason.
Well,
they just have to bring her in the picture.
Superman kills Doomsday in Batman.
Do you remember the fight though? Because like he was basically wounded like the whole time, and then just like flies in to stab him at the end. But Wonder Woman like carried that fight, and then Batman was just swinging around.
Well, what is Batman supposed to do? Punch Doomsday in the face?
No, but my point is,
bro, but he's Batman.
It's Batman versus Superman. So you see their fight in the middle of the movie, and then Batman, very cool sequence of like him trying to save Martha, and then afterwards it's Wonder Woman versus Doomsday, and then Superman just like stabbing him at the end. It's like completely like just deviating. Such a shit movie. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's my point. I think with DC movies they try to condense too much information into like
because
one movie.
They're trying to ride the trail of Marvel, but not trying to develop the movies in order to do so.
Exactly.
They're trying to catch up to Marvel.
Exactly.
But they can't because Marvel. How many movies did Marvel make before Avengers?
22.
More than enough.
No, but
wait,
like
the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Like 8.
Thor, Iron Man,
Captain America.
Was Captain America before?
Yes,
it was.
It was before.
It was before. Yeah.
It was the
No,
first
it
one.
wasn't. It's Iron Man. Iron Man 1 and 2 came before Captain America, and then Thor came. So there were 4 movies before Avengers.
Okay, so
wait, but there was also Hulk.
We don't count those.
Okay.
but you see in those other movies, you see the development of those characters and stuff, and then it's based upon the assumption that you're going to watch. So if they did a Batman movie, if they did Man of Steel, then they did Wonder Woman, and then developed some parts about Man of Steel into it, and then they did Batman, but then developed some parts from Man of Steel and Wonder Woman in there, and then did whatever else. Then when the time came for you to watch Batman v Superman, and if it was all well written and stuff, that extra movie with Batman would have made much more sense, because then the movie would have ended with him in Metropolis.
Yeah, but I don't like it doesn't need to be like, you can still introduce characters with like in a.
That's true, but
don't make them like a main hero, like they did in Batman vs Super. Like Wonder Woman became a main hero by the end of it.
So
she became vital to defeating Doomsday.
Yeah,
but I think that was an introduction to the Justice League more than anything else.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, but again,
but
right?
what a
like
way to
what
a way to introduce them to the Justice League by having them fight first. It would have made more sense if they did a Justice League movie first.
Yeah, and then
like you do this. You do Man of Steel, then you do a Batman movie, then you do a Wonder Woman movie, then you do Flash.
Yes.
Then you do a Justice League movie.
I agree.
Superman and Batman disagree about something, and the whole movie it's Wonder Woman and Flash and Cyborg and
kind of like Civil War.
You build that shit up, and then you eventually it's like Civil War. You build it up. It's like, oh, when is Batman and Superman going to fight? And then the movie happens, and then the fight is, okay, because obviously Superman has to be nerfed to shit.
I think one of the comics has Batman and Superman fighting when they're like way older.
Yeah,
that's what this is based off of.
So exactly, they try to rush way too much.
Did the movie come out after Civil War? I think it did, right?
I don't fucking remember.
Because I think they were like, oh, people liked it when the heroes fought each other, so let's make a movie about heroes fighting each other without like any fucking context and bring in like all these characters.
So Batman hates Superman because they fought in the city. He fought in the city and stuff blew up.
And then Superman
killed the guy.
What?
Killed Zod.
No, but then why?
I don't care.
No, why did Superman hate Batman?
No, Batman hated Superman.
No, but why would Superman fight Batman?
Because he was fighting him with
he was fighting him
with
to save Martha or something.
No, he also had kryptonite. He also had the kryptonite.
Man, it's so stupid. Anyway.
Yeah,
dumb movie.
I'm about to blow.
So I'm gonna close. Anything else? Any final?
How would you rewrite the DC universe? Like other than the movie sequence, like how would you make it better?
Well, I think the way they did it with the Snyder cut was pretty good.
Okay.
Though I wouldn't release a 4-hour movie. I'd release it like in 2 parts. I don't mind that. If you release part 1, you make 4 hours worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it in half. Part 1 you release it 1 month. Part 2 you release it the other month. So then and then movie theaters can sell it as you can watch part 1, part 2, or you can watch both. Bam, instant money. You can double, triple tickets.
Okay, but you don't think that's the problem, bro? Like, we shouldn't be making this about like money, bro. Like,
no, but I'm saying,
I think it was done based on
the money. But the money is the reason why these movies exist, right? So how good a movie is depends, like, will impact how much money it makes.
Yeah, but we're trying to find the best way to write these films, not the best way to make money.
No, but like if you write them properly, it will make more money.
I think regardless, if you split a movie in 2, it's a bad idea. The only reason why it worked in Harry Potter Deathly Hallows was because they were 2 separate movies.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So you make two different acts of movies, basically, and then it's kind of like the month off is like the intermission. It's either that or you make an incredibly condensed movie or an incredibly long movie.
But my point is, like, it's not the same story. Like, I don't want it to be like, oh, tune in next time to see what happens. It's more like, okay, this is one arc. Like, you close this, right? Like, you start
like with Batman versus Superman. First arc, Batman fights Superman. Second arc, Batman and Superman team up to fight Doomsday.
Right, those are 2 completely different movies. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but instead, what do? They put all of that in one movie, condense the shit out of it, cut out all the fucking context, and that's why it's dog shit.
But that's what happened.
The best part is
Steel.
But it's not part 1, part 2. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, don't make it a part 1, part 2.
No, what I'm saying is like make it a part 1, part 2 in the sense of how Deathly Hallows is a part 1, part 2, where the first one is a build up to the second one.
Okay.
But again, like because for me, the way I see it is that part 1 for Deathly Hallows wasn't a build up; it was its own thing. That's the way I saw it.
Well, it's its own thing plus a build up.
Sure.
So it's like the characters trying to find the Horcruxes.
I mean, can you just call it Superman 2 or whatever? Like at that point, might as well just put
just Superman 2.
I mean, kind of like how like Lord of the Rings has one giant plot and they split into 3 movies. Have that thing, but with like Superman.
But in general, like if you're going to make, if you want to make the problem is I'm trying to rewrite it based on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
you need to have multiple movies full of context in order to reach that point.
Right. Okay.
I think you need a lot more context to have 2 episodes, not episodes, but 2 films from Man of Steel on my end at least. I think just a 15-30 minutes would be fine.
Bro, how many movies did they release of Iron Man before they released Avengers?
Okay, wait.
They, I think, had 2 Iron Man movies, right? Yeah. That's 2 movies that by the time you reach Avengers, he already has 2 movies worth of development. By the time you reach, and like half of the cast have development from that movie. And then they bring in Black Widow and Hawkeye and whatever. And then they get developed in that movie. You can focus a little bit more on them because you've already developed these other characters. Right. And then you have the big fight and it's really interesting. They have one big fight.
Yeah.
They have one big fight, not 2-3, because 2-3 big fights, it's a lot. It's a lot of energy, bro.
And at that point, you already know the characters. You already know a little bit of who they are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to follow through the story rather than wondering who's this guy? What does he do again? Like, where is he from? Like,
bring up a good point actually, because that's also another problem I found with like DC is that like it's like, oh, you introduce like one fight and you're like, oh, you thought that was big.
Watch this.
Watch this, and
And
then
they're
like,
gonna
oh,
send
you
another
thought that was big. Watch this, and it just fucking escalates, right?
but even the villains in DC are like poorly written. Like the main thing about Marvel is that the villains are kind of relatable. There's certain
They have
aspects.
motives.
Yeah, exactly. That you're like, okay, it's not that bad. Like I could kind of see why he's going through all of this. Whereas in DC, you're just like, okay, he's bad.
But I mean,
Yeah,
in the
like-
case of
like-
Zod, I think it was okay, but the rest,
Zod was fine. I don't remember too much about
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor. I don't remember too much about
See,
Steppenwolf.
they're not
But
memorable.
That's the thing. They're not memorable. Zod, even when I didn't rewatch it, before I rewatched the movie, I was like, okay, this guy's like, he has a purpose to fulfill.
Mhm.
Thanos, for example, had a purpose to fulfill before
Right.
Endgame.
Killmonger.
Loki, Killmonger, whoever else, they all had reasons, right?
Right.
Killmonger wanted to bring the technology over
Mhm.
to help other people around
Right.
the world.
See, even if
those are interesting reasons, those are interesting dichotomies that you have to play with.
But even after years of not watching the movie, you could still remember the character.
But
you
they're
remember.
making cookie cutter villains. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind a pure villain like Palpatine, for example,
Mhm.
from Star Wars.
Whether just
But you need to have that guy be behind another main villain like Vader,
Mhm.
who has a complex character in front of him.
I mean, they did that with Avengers. Like the original Avengers had
Loki.
Thanos control the
Yeah,
playing field, and then they brought him
in,
for.
But
brought
then-
him in afterwards.
yeah.
But at that point he was still a big bad guy, right? But then as he came in, they developed him.
Exactly.
In the case of Snyder Cut, it was Steppenwolf,
Mhm.
and then in the background was Darkseid.
yeah.
That's the whole point. The villains of the DC universe are like so poorly written that nothing makes them memorable other than the fact that they're villains.
They're villains and they fight good sometimes.
Dude, if you
Like,
didn't
that's it,
bring
yeah.
up Steppenwolf, I would have legit forgotten who the villain was for Justice League.
Snyder Cut. Well, both.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though the part where Superman comes back and he's fighting the Justice League,
Yeah.
and then he sees Flash running towards him, and
It
he
just-
looks at Flash. Well, that shit's- that was cool. So if you guys like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel,
Ballsy.
and yeah, our next episode is going to be, drum roll, Apocalypse Now. So please tune in for that one. It's going to be coming out in about 2 weeks. Yeah, if you want to watch more, click here for our episode on The Batman, an actually good DC movie. This one's good too, but like I'm just saying. And click right here for The Truman Show, which was our last episode.